Hey guys, tonight we begin our journey by thinking about the fresh start every morning brings. Picture the sun rising gently over the horizon, the world still quiet, and your first breath of the day filled with possibility. But here's the thing. It's easy to wake up feeling overwhelmed. You might have a mountain of things to do or challenges ahead that feel too big to tackle alone. But what if, instead of facing those challenges by yourself, you handed them over to someone who can handle it all? What if you started every day by surrendering everything, your fears, your hopes, your worries, into God's hands, trusting that He will guide you, no matter what the day brings? So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop your location and local time in the comments. I'd love to hear where you're joining from. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Each day is a new opportunity, a blank slate. And the moment you wake up, the choice is yours. Do you try to control everything on your own, or do you trust in God's plans for you? This morning, just like every morning, you get to decide what's most important. The first step you take is putting everything in God's hands. The air you breathe, the steps you take, all of it can be surrendered to Him in a simple prayer. And when you do that, something magical happens. You let go of the weight you're carrying, even before your feet hit the floor. As you start your morning, imagine yourself standing at the edge of a vast ocean. The waves are gentle, but they stretch far beyond what you can see. You feel the sand beneath your feet, firm yet soft, as the rhythm of the waves fills your mind. Now picture this. Every decision, every challenge you face today is like a wave. Some are small and manageable, others might seem like they could pull you under. But what if you let them come, let them crash, and trusted that God is the one who guides those waves, who controls them? You see, putting everything in God's hands isn't about being passive or giving up on your dreams. It's about acknowledging that there is a greater plan. The famous author C.S. Lewis once said, "Relying on God has to begin all over again every day as if nothing had yet been done." It's a reminder that we can't do it all alone. Historians still debate whether faith or action carries more weight in shaping a person's destiny. But the truth is, both are essential. Action without faith can lead to burnout. Faith without action can lead to inaction, but when you combine both, you find balance. As you wake up each morning, instead of immediately diving into the endless tasks on your to-do list, take a deep breath and surrender it all. Imagine each worry, every plan, every decision being placed in God's hands. He's not asking you to do everything on your own. He's asking you to trust in His timing and His plan for you. Now, as you settle deeper into your morning routine, think about the many times you've carried burdens without even realizing it. It's so easy to get caught up in the fast pace of life, to think that every responsibility and challenge is yours to handle. But here's the thing. God never meant for you to carry it all alone. The weight of the world doesn't rest on your shoulders. You don't have to bear the pressure of controlling every aspect of your life. Instead, trust that when you surrender it to Him, He carries the load for you. When you put everything in God's hands, it's like handing over the steering wheel. It's a simple act of faith. Sure, you might still face tough roads and obstacles along the way, but with God at the helm, you'll find peace in knowing He's guiding you. He has a purpose for every step you take, and as you trust Him, He'll equip you with the wisdom and strength you need to navigate each turn. It's not about avoiding challenges. It's about knowing that you're never facing them alone. Take a moment today to let go. Let go of the need to control every little detail. Let go of the worry about what's coming next. Give it all to God, your fears, your hopes, your struggles. Remember, even in the most difficult moments, He's working on your behalf. As the Apostle Paul wrote in Philippians chapter 4, verses 6-7, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. You take a deep breath, feeling the warmth of the sunlight beginning to shine through your window, and you realize just how much you've been holding on to. The world is full of things that try to weigh you down: deadlines, expectations, and the ever-present voice in your head reminding you that you need to do more, be more. It's exhausting, right? But imagine for a moment if you could set it all down, just for a while. Imagine what it would feel like to rest in God's presence and know, with complete certainty, that He's got everything covered. There's this powerful image in the Bible, in 1 Peter chapter 5 verse 7, that says, "Cast all your anxiety on Him, because He cares for you." Picture yourself, right now, taking that bag of worries you've been carrying for days, weeks, or even months, and just setting it down at God's feet. It's a beautiful, freeing moment, and you don't have to pick it back up. Trust that the Creator of the universe is handling it. When you put everything in God's hands, you're not just saying a prayer. You're engaging in a daily practice of surrender. It's about choosing to let go of your limited perspective and stepping into the peace that only He can provide. In doing so, you also begin to understand that your worth doesn't come from your ability to do everything or fix every problem. It comes from knowing that you are loved, cherished, and cared for by the One who holds the world in His hands. It might take time, but every moment you spend in trusting God with your burdens brings you closer to a life that feels lighter, more peaceful, and aligned with His purpose for you. As you settle deeper into the idea of putting everything in God's hands, the truth begins to sink in. Letting go is not always easy. You might feel a tug of doubt, wondering if you can truly trust God with everything. It's natural to question. After all, your problems are yours, and you've lived with them for so long. But the beauty of surrendering is realizing that you don't have to carry the weight alone. There's peace in knowing that God's got the bigger picture in mind. Think about the story of Job for a moment. Job was a man who lost everything: his health, wealth, and family. Yet, in the midst of his trials, Job chose to trust God. He said, "Though He slay me, yet will I trust in Him." Now, you might not be going through something as intense as Job, but the lesson still applies. When you put everything in God's hands, you're trusting Him with the outcome, even when it feels uncertain. Now, this doesn't mean you'll never face difficulties, or that life will suddenly become a smooth ride. It means that, in the middle of the chaos, there's a steady, unshakable peace that comes from knowing God is working things out. You don't have to be anxious about every twist and turn because you trust that He's in control, even when the road gets rocky. It's about shifting from a mindset of self-reliance to one of divine dependence. That's the real power of putting everything in God's hands. It's trusting that He is capable and willing to guide you every step of the way. Now, as you sit with that truth, God is in control and you don't have to carry it all. It's time to get specific. What are the things you're still holding on to? The fears that keep you up at night? The relationship you're struggling to fix? The financial worries that just never seem to end? Imagine for a moment that you could hand those things over to God, fully trusting that He will work them out. It sounds freeing, doesn't it? And yet you might find that it's easier said than done. The act of releasing control is often harder than we think. But let's look at Jesus for a moment. He was in the Garden of Gethsemane, praying fervently the night before His crucifixion. He asked God, "If it is possible, let this cup pass from me." In other words, He didn't want to face what was coming. But then He said, "Not as I will, but as you will." Even Jesus, knowing the agony He would endure, chose to submit to the will of His Father. This moment of surrender didn't make the cross any less painful. It didn't take away the fear or the uncertainty of what was to come. But it allowed Jesus to move forward with confidence, knowing that the Father's plan was greater than His own understanding. And that's what you're doing when you put everything in God's hands. You're trusting that His plan, no matter how difficult it seems, is better than anything you could imagine. And the incredible part is this: when you surrender your struggles, God doesn't just take them from you, He fills you with peace. His peace surpasses understanding, and it becomes a shield around your heart. Now let's take a moment to reflect on the way you've been carrying these burdens. Picture yourself walking down a long, winding road, each step heavy with the weight of your concerns. The further you go, the harder it is to keep moving. It's exhausting, right? But what if I told you that at any point you could stop, turn around, and hand it all over to someone who is strong enough to carry it for you? It's a choice, isn't it? The choice to let go, the choice to put everything in God's hands and trust that He will not only take care of it, but also guide you through it. There's something incredibly freeing about realizing that you don't have to do it alone. In the Bible, the Apostle Paul writes, "Cast all your anxiety on Him because He cares for you." This simple act of casting, like throwing a ball to someone, means you no longer have to hold it. You can let it go, and as you do, God's strength becomes your strength. It's a promise, one that's echoed throughout Scripture. You don't have to be strong on your own, because His power is made perfect in your weakness. So as you think about the day ahead, the challenges and the worries you're carrying, remember this: you don't have to solve everything yourself. You were never meant to. You're being invited to hand over your burdens to the Creator of the universe. Just imagine, what could your life look like if you truly believed that God was in control of every single detail, no matter how big or small? The weight you've been carrying, it's no longer yours to bear. Now picture this. You wake up to a quiet morning, the sun's rays gently filtering through your window. For a moment, the world seems peaceful, untouched. But as the minutes pass, the reality of the day starts creeping in. Tasks, responsibilities, deadlines. The list seems endless. But you don't have to take it all on at once. Imagine, just for today, starting your morning by surrendering everything to God. Picture yourself starting the day with a simple prayer, acknowledging His presence in every decision, trusting Him to guide you through the choices ahead. There's a practice that many people have found incredibly powerful, beginning each morning by saying, "God, I trust you with today." It's a statement of faith, but also a recognition that the outcomes of the day are not entirely within your control. This doesn't mean you don't take action or put in effort. It means you give God space to work in the details of your life, even in the midst of your plans. It's like the ancient practice of laying the first fruits of the harvest before God. It's saying, "Here, take this day, take this moment. Guide me, use me, direct me in the way I should go." It's less about asking for specific outcomes and more about releasing control, surrendering to God's timing and His wisdom. And sure, there will be moments when you want to grab the reins back. It's natural. But each time you feel that pull to take it all back, remind yourself, this isn't a solo journey. You don't have to carry the weight alone. Let's dive deeper into why this act of surrender can feel so powerful. In a world that constantly tells us to take control, to do everything ourselves, letting go is an act of radical trust. Back in ancient times, surrendering wasn't always seen as weakness. In fact, it was a sign of strength. Kings, warriors, and leaders often surrendered their battles to a higher power, knowing that they didn't have all the answers, and that true strength often comes from recognizing our own limits. Today, we might not be fighting literal battles, but life's challenges can often feel like wars. We carry the weight of expectations, deadlines, decisions, and relationships, and it can get overwhelming. But, just like those ancient leaders, you too can find strength in surrender. Imagine your daily life as a series of small battles, things like meetings, family obligations, or personal goals. Now, picture going into each of those moments, not burdened by the need to control every outcome, but trusting that God's hand is guiding you through. Isn't that a relief? It's like setting down a heavy load and realizing you didn't have to carry it all along. When you surrender your plans, your worries, and even your uncertainties, you open yourself up to new possibilities. You may be surprised at the peace that comes with this letting go. Historians still argue whether ancient warriors were truly at peace in battle, but one thing is clear: they didn't face their struggles alone, and neither do you. Let's take a step back and reflect on how much power comes from simply resting in God's hands. The notion of letting go can be tough to embrace, especially when you've been taught to push, strive, and fight for what you want. But sometimes, the greatest act of strength is to release control. This is when we experience true freedom. Imagine, instead of fighting each day like it's your last, you could rest in the knowledge that the path is already set for you. In your heart, you know that the universe has a rhythm, a kind of divine orchestration. Whether you're navigating difficult relationships, career decisions, or personal growth, trusting in God's plan opens up a flow of calm energy. It's like the difference between trying to swim against a strong current and letting yourself float along, allowing the current to take you where you need to be. Historians still argue whether ancient philosophers understood the concept of surrender as we do today, but the parallels are striking. Philosophers like Socrates often talked about letting go of ego and trusting in something greater than themselves. That's the beauty of faith. It transcends time, culture, and even individual belief systems. It's about surrendering to something larger than ourselves, and in doing so, finding peace. So tonight, as you close your eyes, imagine placing all your worries, your fears, and your dreams into God's hands. Feel the weight lift, knowing you are not in this alone. And with that release, you create space for peace, love, and guidance. Now, as you settle further into this sense of trust, let's talk about one of the most crucial aspects of walking by faith: patience. It's one thing to trust that God has a plan for you, but quite another to wait for it to unfold. Patience isn't just about enduring a delay. It's about cultivating peace in the waiting. It's about knowing that each step you take, no matter how slow it feels, is part of a larger picture. You've probably heard people say, "God's timing is perfect." And you've probably rolled your eyes a little, wondering, when does that timing ever work out for me? But deep down, you know it's true. The things that come when you least expect them are often the things you need the most. Just as the seasons change on their own schedule, so too do the moments in your life. You can't rush the flowers to bloom, nor can you push the sun to rise any faster. And yet, with each new day, there's something miraculous that unfolds in the quiet moments. Patience allows you to see the miracles that happen between the waiting. Historians still debate whether patience was considered a virtue in all ancient cultures. Some argue that cultures like the Egyptians, who believed in the balance of ma'at, truth, justice, and order, understood patience deeply, while others focus on the more hurried, action-driven empires. But no matter the age or civilization, patience has always had a place. So in this moment, let your heart be still. Trust that every single step you take is part of a divine rhythm. You're exactly where you need to be, and the rest will unfold as it should. As you continue to put everything in God's hands, you start to realize that surrender doesn't mean giving up. It's not about being passive, but about finding strength in trusting His guidance. When you put your life into His hands, it's like finding the ultimate safety net. You no longer have to carry the weight of every decision on your shoulders. You start to breathe a little easier because you know that no matter how heavy things may seem, you're not carrying them alone. That doesn't mean that life becomes instantly perfect. We know this. But it does mean you're no longer shouldering the burden of trying to control everything. That's where true freedom begins, in the realization that you don't have to figure it all out on your own. In ancient Greece, the concept of fate, or moira, was very much tied to the belief that the gods controlled the destiny of men and women. But instead of being helpless in the face of fate, people found comfort in the idea that their destinies were shaped by something greater than themselves. It's a bit like putting everything in God's hands, not leaving things up to chance, but trusting in the divine plan, even if we can't always see it. Historians still argue whether the Greeks viewed fate as something to fear or something to embrace. Some say they saw it as a source of dread, while others believed it gave them a sense of peace, knowing that they didn't have to control everything. And maybe that's what putting your life in God's hands is all about, finding peace in what's out of your control. As you settle into that peace, know that He's got you covered. There's something remarkably soothing about surrendering control, but that doesn't mean it's always easy. In fact, there will be moments when you'll wrestle with doubt, as if you've been given a key to unlock a door that seems too heavy to open. It's during these moments that you need to remind yourself, the journey of faith isn't about perfection, it's about trust. Trust that the path ahead is shaped by love, even if you can't see it clearly yet. In the Bible, we hear stories of people who struggled to let go. Moses, for example, who was reluctant to lead the Israelites out of Egypt despite God's command. Or Jonah, who ran in the opposite direction when he was called to go to Nineveh. Both men struggled with God's plan, but both ultimately saw the beauty and purpose in surrendering to it. In a way, we're all a bit like Moses and Jonah at times, aren't we? We know what's best, we think we can handle things on our own, and yet, when we finally let go, we discover the true meaning of freedom. Maybe that's why so many people find comfort in the concept of surrender. It's a process that leads to something greater than we can imagine. In the ancient tradition of monasticism, monks would often practice Selah, a pause, a moment of reflection, to rest in the presence of God. Historians still argue whether this practice was about seeking stillness or about learning to hear God more clearly. But either way, the key was in the surrender of the mind's constant chatter to embrace a higher calling. So in your own moments of doubt, remember, there's beauty in surrender. Just breathe, rest, and trust that He is holding you. As you breathe in the peace of surrender, you start to realize something profound. You're never alone. When you place everything in God's hands, He meets you where you are, with grace and understanding. This isn't just a get-out-of-jail-free card or a simple act of hope. It's an invitation to witness the unfolding of something far beyond what you can orchestrate on your own. And while that might sound a little mysterious, there's no reason to be intimidated. It's a process that builds slowly, one breath at a time. The psalmist often spoke of God as a refuge, a safe place where one could hide from the storms of life. Psalm chapter 46 verse 1 reminds us that God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. It's not about pretending the storms don't exist. It's about knowing there's a safe harbor to which you can always run. That doesn't mean your life will be perfect. Far from it. There will be challenges that make you wonder if your faith is misplaced. It's easy to look at the chaos around you and doubt whether you're truly being taken care of. But in those very moments, God's love and protection are closer than you can even feel. You are, in fact, already in the hands of something much larger than yourself. You might even experience a sense of peace that doesn't make sense, given your circumstances. People often speak of the peace that surpasses understanding. It's like an invisible force settling over you despite everything. Historians still debate whether this is simply a psychological response to surrender or a spiritual experience, but either way, it's a phenomenon you'll feel if you allow yourself to truly trust. So remember, when you let go, you invite peace in. And so, as you settle deeper into the trust you've placed in God, you begin to understand the true meaning of peace. It's not an absence of trouble, it's the presence of something greater, something unshakable. And even in the midst of life's messiest moments, you'll find yourself gently pulled back to that center, where you know, without a doubt, that everything is in His hands. This peace doesn't depend on how smooth things are going. It's the kind of peace that comes from knowing that no matter what happens, whether you're facing joy or sorrow, God's presence remains constant, like a deep, comforting well you can always drink from. This isn't just a theory, it's a practice. The more you give over to God, the more you experience this unshakable peace. You might still have your doubts, and that's okay. But the more you choose to trust Him, the more you'll feel His guidance. It's like having an invisible hand gently guiding you through every twist and turn. And the beauty of it all is, when you finally let go, you discover a strength in surrender you never expected. Now close your eyes for a moment. Take a deep breath. Imagine everything you've been holding on to, all of your worries, all of your plans. Now picture gently placing them in the hands of God. Feel the weight lift from your shoulders, replaced by a quiet, comforting presence. Whatever comes next, you are held, and that's enough. It's more than enough. As you settle into the quiet of this moment, know that you are exactly where you need to be, in His care, under His guidance. You're safe, you're loved. And He is with you, every step of the way.